What is going on, everyone? Give it thought back here today for another No Man's Sky discussion video. So let's put on our exosuits and grab our unicycle, yeah, I said unicycle, and get into this. So the question I have today is regarding whether or not No Man's Sky was a success or was it a complete failure. And I know there's going to be two camps on this, obviously, but I wanted to look at some evidence to support my thoughts, which will be coming at the end of the video. So make sure you stick around for that. So first, I want to look at the critical side of things. And I will be getting to the Metacritic score in a second, but first I wanted to look at 3 of the most trusted gaming journalism news outlets and examine their thoughts on the game. And by doing this, I think we can all get a clearer picture of how the game was perceived critically. So I wanted to begin with IGN. They ended up giving No Man's Sky a 6 out of 10, which is actually a pretty low score. One of IGN's main complaints about it was the resource gathering. Quote, most of the moment-to-moment gameplay in No Man's Sky is a typical and dull resource harvesting grind, running from pile to pile and hoovering up minerals and elements like iron, nickel, and plutonium. So it's easy to see that they hated that part of the game, which is understandable. But they also mentioned that they liked the game's variety, stating, landing on a new planet is usually an impressive high point because visual variety is No Man's Sky's strong suit. I don't know if I completely agree with them about that, but it is a plus in a pool of minuses about this game, according to them. And they also hated the combat and called it miserable, but again, they ended up giving the game 6 out of 10, so it makes sense. Moving on to Polygon, who also gave the game a 6 out of 10, their main complaint was the feeling of sameness from planet to planet, to which they said, for such a massive, nearly limitless galaxy, I couldn't believe how soon into the game I felt like I had seen almost everything it had to offer. This is also a complaint that I had, but I had it even sooner than 10 to 15 hours. But they also liked something about the game that I praised, which was the exploration. Quote, I felt like I had never quite experienced anything like this in all my years of gaming. And that comment was about the way they moved around the universe and on the planets. It is an awesome experience, but let's move on to the last review I would like to examine, and that is from Game Informer. And their first complaint I wanted to mention was the exact same one of Polygon and myself. They said, over dozens of hours of play, I couldn't escape the sensation that I was playing one impossibly immense side mission, and I kept waiting for the real game to start. So there they are complaining about the feeling of sameness that pervades even the gameplay of the game, as well as the planets and space itself. But they also praised the game's massive world, saying, even after many hours of galactic pioneer work, I still find myself pausing from time to time and looking out on a world of my own discovery, marveling at its alien grandeur. So that's pretty high praise coming from Game Informer. But one more complaint they had about it was regarding its lack of rewards for exploring the universe, saying, the only reward for diligence is better tools and more space to store your plunder, with little in the way of a meaningful story or changes to gameplay to maintain excitement. So all in all, Game Informer's review was pretty negative it seemed to me, but they did give the game a final score of 7.5, which is 1.5 points higher than what IGN and Polygon gave it. But to me, it was the most negative review, which didn't make sense. But anyway, finally we've come to the Metacritic score, which is an overall 71. And if I can go back to my review, shameless own video plug, I gave No Man's Sky a 7.0. So going by the Metacritic, I was pretty dead on there. So critically, did the game succeed? Not really. It got a pretty average score. So I wouldn't call that success, at least not really. So let's move on to the other side of things, and that is, did the game succeed commercially? So on that topic, let's start out with the positives. I've mentioned this before in my videos, but the game had the most concurrent players on Steam in 2016. And you have to remember this is the year that Dark Souls 3 came out, as well as XCOM 2. And the exact peak number for the players that were playing No Man's Sky at one time was 212,613 people. That's a lot of people. And in the UK, it was the second best-selling game on the PS4, only behind Uncharted 4. So that's some pretty high praise for an independent game. I don't know if an independent game has got this much attention except for Minecraft. Someone might have to correct me on that, but that seems to be the case. But here is where we get into the negatives. In its second week, the sales of No Man's Sky dropped by a staggering 81%. So looking at that, it didn't even make 20% of its original sales numbers in its second week. And that's not even to mention the rampant refunds for No Man's Sky. According to Eurogamer, they have been contacted by a raft of disgruntled No Man's Sky players who have tried and failed to get a refund from Sony after buying Hello Games' Space title from the PlayStation Store. So many people are wanting a refund for this game that Sony isn't wanting to give their money back. And that's not to mention the Steam boards that are full of people claiming to have gotten refunds for No Man's Sky. Despite at this time of recording, 14,589 people are currently playing on Steam. I wish Sony would publish the exact numbers for the game in regards to its sales so that we could examine them more thoroughly, but as of right now, there are no concrete numbers. But to answer the question, was No Man's Sky a monetary success? I think we all can agree that it is. So yes, it was a success in that category at least. So really quickly, my thoughts were that the game deserved more praise than it got. Most of the scores were very low, and if you look at the user score on Metacritic, it is extremely low. And I don't know why people hated the game so much, especially if they looked at the game as its own thing, aside from the marketing and wild lies from Sean Murray. It is a pretty enjoyable experience, at least for a few days. So I wanted to ask you guys, what did you think of No Man's Sky? Do you think it is a success or do you think it is a failure? And do you think the success of No Man's Sky has ridden on the lies of Sean Murray? I think that may be kind of the case. But why don't you guys tell me what you think down in the comments below? And that's where I think I'm going to end today's video. If you enjoyed this video, why not check out yesterday's video? It was all about No Man's Sky's newest patch, 1.05, and I go into the details on what the patch fixes and what I hope from future patches. Also, if you haven't yet, be sure to smash that subscribe button. It's always nice to see that number go up. Alright, that's it for me today, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, give thought to everything.